Welcome, everyone. So glad to have you with us for our community forum. We have a fantastic agenda for everybody this afternoon. We are going to get started in just a couple of minutes, but just a couple of housekeeping items as we're waiting to get started. For anybody who is unfamiliar with Zoom, you should have been auto-muted upon entry into the Zoom room. We ask that folks remain on mute unless they're actively presenting or asking a question. We will be doing a breakout session later in the forum, and that'll be a chance for you to get into dialogue with other community members. So make sure that you're ready for that later in the agenda. Also wanted to highlight that there is an option to rename yourself in the participant list. If you click on participants, you can click on the dots next to your name, and there'll be an option to rename yourself, since I believe some folks are being listed as the same name. So go ahead and rename yourself to have your name. And if you want to also include any pronouns or your affiliation, you're welcome to add that information to your name in the participant list as well. We also invite anybody who would like to introduce themselves in the Zoom group chat. So there is a chat box feature that we'll be using throughout the event to share links to useful resources and to keep dialogue going. So feel free to introduce yourself or say hi in the chat. My colleague Erica is going to be serving as our tech support for this afternoon. So you can see Erica's information in the chat right now. You are welcome to directly message Erica through Zoom, through the chat feature, or send her a text or give her a call if needed. We really appreciate everybody who is joining us today. Again, we're going to give folks just another minute or two to join, and then we'll start the agenda in earnest. While we're waiting for folks to connect, also wanted to highlight the guidelines for forum participants, which was included on the second page of the agenda that was sent out for the community forum. We really appreciate everyone's participation in this process. This is a really important part of the planning and preparation that we do as a part of the Mental Health Services Act funding. And so to make sure that we have a productive, safe, and respectful environment, we have a set of self-governance guides that we're asking for everyone to consider this afternoon. So just to briefly review those, we're committed to honoring everyone's time. So we appreciate everyone helping us by being on time, asking questions, speaking to the topic at hand, and allowing others to speak. As I mentioned, please remember to keep yourself on mute unless you are speaking. Make sure that any background or anything that will be viewed in the video feed is respectful and appropriate. Wait to be recognized before unmuting yourself and keep your comments direct and brief. We do have a way to raise hands as a part of the community forum. You can also raise questions in the chat. It's okay to disagree, as different perspectives are welcomed and encouraged, but we ask that folks be polite and respectful and allow for others to voice their views as well. We also ask that folks refrain from criticizing a specific person or viewpoint in a negative manner during the forum. Outside of the forum, you may connect with MHSA staff for assistance in having your concerns heard and addressed through the appropriate channels. And an individual may be asked to leave if they behave in a manner that threatens the safety of any participant or doesn't honor the terms of these guidelines. So again, welcome to everyone who's been logging on and joining our community forum focused on the evolution of the peer movement. We are going to get started in just a moment, but again, I wanted to invite folks to introduce themselves in the chat if they haven't gotten a chance to, and also if you are not displaying the correct name in the participant list, you're welcome to click on yourself and rename yourself to your name, pronouns, and affiliation. So really appreciate everyone's participation in that. So with that, I think we have a pretty good stabilized number in terms of people logging on. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. And so I'm going to go ahead and just remind folks that there were attachments sent in advance of this meeting that have the agenda and the content that we'll be going over today during the forum. So agenda, PowerPoints, and resources were sent out by Genevieve in advance. So take a look at those if you want to follow along separately. Also, just wanted to highlight the agenda that we have for us this afternoon. It's a pretty packed agenda. We'll be going over a lot of important content this afternoon, and there'll be a lot of great opportunities to share information with each other. We will also be sure to take a couple of short stretch breaks. We encourage everybody to take care of yourselves during our meeting. It's a long time to be sitting at a computer. We understand that and really appreciate everybody working with us in this virtual environment. This is our first time doing a community forum virtually. And while we look forward to the day we can come together in person again, appreciate everybody trying out this format with us. So please take care of yourselves and feel free to get up and do what you need to do throughout the meeting, but we will have 2 short stretch breaks throughout the afternoon. So with that, I think I'd like to hand it off to Catherine, who's going to be doing an opening blessing.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me fine.
We can. Catherine, we could hear you at first. We can't now. Do we still have Catherine with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Sorry, had a momentary connection issue.
No worries.
I'm sorry for the delay, but yes, thank you. I just want to thank you all for inviting us to be here and for allowing me to open with a blessing. It is our tradition to start our events and meetings with a blessing. This sets the intention and
Catherine, I think you are muted.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry about that.
oh no.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So as I was saying, it's our tradition to start off our events and meetings with a blessing. This sets the intention and starts us off in a good way. I'd like to thank the Creator for bringing us all here today, for allowing us to come together to heal, learn, and grow. I'd like to thank you for giving us the strength and courage to do this important work and to come together as providers and community members with a common goal of improving our work for the generations ahead of us. I'd like to ask that you open our hearts and our minds to receive the information and work collaboratively together today. I'd like to also acknowledge those who could not be here with us. I'd like to ask Creator that you continue to look after and guide those who are being affected by COVID-19, those communities who are being affected by the wildfires, our emergency response workers and essential workers, and all of us who are being affected by the social injustices occurring in our communities today. Creator, again, I want to give thanks to you for blessing us and bringing us all here. and I want to ask that you help set the intention for the day, and that we're able to do some good work here today together. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, that beautiful blessing to open our community forum on the evolution of the peer movement. I would like to next invite Dr. Jan Koboleda-Kegler, who's the Behavioral Health Services Adult Mental Health System of Care Chief, who's going to say a few words.
Thank you, Amanda. Good to see you. Good to see all of you. Yeah, I'm Jan Koboleda-Kegler, and I am the program chief for adult and older adult behavioral health services. This is an honor and privilege to be here today to represent behavioral health services at this esteemed gathering. So on the behalf of behavioral health services, let me say welcome. Hello, good to see you. Welcome to this special occasion. Well, you know, we're here to talk about the evolution of the peer movement community. This is what's bringing us together today. And I just need to share with you how overcome with joy I am in this moment, that amidst all the trials and tribulations of these times, here we are meeting to talk about our peer community and its value, something that is so important, that kind of helps to keep our system going, the life of our system going. So anyway, you know, and I've been with the county for a long time, 25 years. And most recently, I've been the chief of adult services for about 5 years. And then before that, I spent 20 years working in children's system of care. When I came to the county in the mid-90s, our system was going through system transformation, and we were developing systems of care. And this is when we started to bring peer providers into the system, embrace them, and include them as people working in our system. So I remember in children's bringing in family partners and developing wraparound teams. And I know that also in the adult system, that is when we started to bring in peer providers and include them. We make them their staff. They are part of our staff in our clinic. So this was.
I'm on.
So anyway, this was a big change. I have to tell you, it was a big change, and it was a good change. It helped us grow, and it helped us become more inclusive. It helped us be more kinder, and bring a quality of healing to the work that we do in the clinics. You know, and it turns out, if I go back through some of the documentation, and you're going to hear about this from other people today, so I'm just going to touch lightly on it and brag a little bit that Contra Costa Behavioral Health Services, we're a leader in the state in establishing formalized peer training and the hiring of individuals with client and family member experience in the public mental health system. Really, I'm so proud of the work that we do, and the work that this has been done by many people before me, and I'm so appreciative of what has been before us. You know, in 1996, Contra Costa Behavioral Health designed and implemented the recovery-oriented peer support provider training. Okay, 96, and then that's what became SPIRIT. The SPIRIT training, with service provider individualized recovery intensive training. Wow. And SPIRIT is run by peers and provides the peers with skills they need to become providers. And then these peers go on to work in our system. And you're going to hear more about this evolution and the details of that. I'm really looking forward to hearing about it from our presenters that are coming up. So, you know, our peer providers, they and family partners, they're part of our system, and they're highly valued, and they're vital to support our clients and families. So in closing, surely, I would just want to say that I know for myself, the school of life is where I've learned my most important life lessons.
Jan, thank you so much for those welcoming words for everyone, and just highlighting the importance of the topic we're covering today. Really appreciate that. I'd like to introduce Jennifer Tuibolotu, who is with the Office for Consumer Empowerment as a program coordinator, who's going to tell us a little bit more about what we mean by peer and peer support.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to see all your faces. And I have a little fun fact here for you. Let's see here. So did you know that in the United States, peer support traces all the way back to as early as 1772, when Native Americans joined in mutual groups to self-manage recovery from substance use problems. So here today, you might be asking, so what is a peer? And in our healthcare setting, we refer to it as someone who has shared experience with medical conditions, mental health, or substance use. Now, peer support happens when we share hopes, strengths, and experiences to promote recovery and resiliency. A peer provider is a person who uses their experience from recovery and peer support skills, and they learn the skills in a formal training, such as Spirit, to deliver services. And again, I think what's really important is that peers offer hope, they hold the hope, and they bring the hope by sharing their recovery story, like the Office for Consumer Empowerment's very own Stephen Boyd. Hit it, Amanda.
Great. Yeah, we have a fantastic video we're going to be sharing with everybody.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Hello everybody, hello, hello. My name is Stephen Boyd for those who didn't know. Gather around and listen to the flow. When I'm not chilling at the resort, I work at the OCE in community support. I'm a community support worker, a peer provider of sorts. The Reach Speakers Bureau, that is my gig. To some people that might not seem so big. I have some challenges with which I live. I've experienced some difficulties with my mental health in the past. I put my life up on the shelf. Please allow me to tell you a little about myself. Southern California is where I'm from, Long Beach to be exact is from where I come. I have some hobbies I enjoy and I'll mention some. I enjoy playing African drums, dancing and drawing, these are among the many things I like to do for fun. I like to relax out in the sun. Life is going good for me these days, but I had to seek and search and change my ways. I've done a lot of growing up since my younger days. I joined the U.S. Army. Fresh out of high school, started drinking away my time, which wasn't really cool. Found out the military has a bunch of rules. I was stationed in South Korea where I lived for 3 years. The first year or so was like party over here. After the army, I went back to live. I taught English to adults and kids after I got done with my DJ gig. A little down the line and further along in days, I started to act in a peculiar way. I ended up on an extended stay at a mental health facility out that way. Once they finally sent me back here to the States, I still didn't fully embrace that there was something going on with my mental health state. Sometimes I felt fine, sometimes not so great. In and out of institutions like a revolving door. Felt like the people in the world didn't love me no more. Felt criminalized, stigmatized for sure. I decided this was no type of life for me. At some point in time, I finally started to accept help that was there for me. Of the things that stood out, I'll mention 2 or 3. Putnam Clubhouse was my first stop, and then the Spirit program helped me get on top of my mental health condition. There it didn't stop. My quality of life started to improve. I started to feel like I was in the groove. Sky's the limit, nothing to lose. Once I put on a new attitude, opportunity started knocking in the multitudes. And social inclusion, it came next. A place where people give and get respect, where all people are included. Last time I checked and reaching for the voice, they are the best in social inclusion. Hope starts with us. A place where we can go even when times are rough. If we feel down, we cheer each other up. Although in life, there's still ups and downs. Today I'm able to smile more than I frown. Plus I'm able to help turn others' frowns upside down. Not only do I give support, I receive. My stress is relieved. Feel like the whole community's backing me. These days when I'm not feeling right, I have a support system to help me fight my battle so I don't live in fright. Use my wellness recovery action plan if I might. These are the things that help me sleep at night. And in the future, I hope to see happiness for all in the community. Taking every chance and opportunity to educate each other on what to do to be socially inclusive towards you and me. Next time you see me, don't hesitate to say what's up. Thank you all for listening. I've said enough, my time is up. And I'm out 5,000 on the grind, 9 to 5 times 5. See, I'm working for a living.
And thank you so much to Stephen and to Putnam and everyone who helped make that possible. We're so grateful for that. As we think about some of the important topics we're going to cover this afternoon, we wanted to actually kick things off with a poll. So there's going to be a poll showing up on your screen right now that has 4 questions on it. Some questions about whether or not you've ever participated in a community forum before, if you've ever accessed any type of mental health or behavioral health or wellness supports, the terms that you prefer to use, and both in terms of your lived experience and how you refer to yourself. So we really appreciate folks responding to the poll that has popped up on the screen. We're going to give folks just a minute to fill that in, and in the meantime, seeing so much fantastic praise for the beautiful video that Stephen put together to kick things off. Absolutely, it was really great to be able to share that together. And we're going to give folks just another minute for the poll, and then we'll share results. All right, just giving folks another couple minutes here to complete the poll. Got about 2/3 of folks responding so far. Okay. Last couple of seconds here for folks to complete the poll. And we're going to go ahead and close out. And just so everybody is aware, in terms of participating in a behavioral health services community forum, 67% of you said yes, that you had participated in before. Welcome back, but a special welcome to the 33% of you who have not been to a community forum before. We're so excited to have you with us. We see that 89% of folks said yes about having ever accessed any type of mental health or behavioral health or wellness supports before. So we really appreciate the experiences that you're bringing to bear for today's conversation. We also see the most popular of the terms that we had suggested here in this poll is person with lived experience at 49%. Mental health challenges got 18%, personal recovery 13%, and wellness was at 11%. 10% of you said other. If you have other specific ideas about ways to describe your lived experience that you care to share in the chat, you're welcome to. And then finally, what term do you prefer to be used in describing yourself? 75% of you said peer. So that's really good to hear, and will be part of the language that we're using throughout the afternoon. So thank you all so much for participating in that poll. And with that, we're going to shift gears and hear a little bit from Jennifer Bruggeman, who's the MHSA program manager. I also just want to highlight that we do have a number of folks who have the same name listed in the participant list. If you get a chance to click on your name and rename yourself as your name and affiliation so we know who's with us this afternoon, that'd be fantastic. But with that, I'd like to hand things off to Jennifer Bruggeman to tell us more about MHSA.
Appreciate everyone being here. It's nice to see you. So I'm just going to go ahead. Were you going to put, here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of kick us off by sharing a little bit of history on the Mental Health Services Act and what that looks like in our county. Great. So MHSA started as Proposition 63, which was voted into law in November 2004. And this is basically a millionaire's tax. It places a 1% income tax on California residents who make over $1 million. Each county throughout California receives an allocation based on their size and population information. Here in Contra Costa, we are considered a larger county. And the idea behind this was to really transform the existing public mental health system. So there are some core values that really drive MHSA, and these are that services are consumer, client, or peer and family driven, meaning that those with lived experience actually really have a voice at the table. Services should be culturally responsive, including with regard to language. They should be created collaboratively with the community. They should help create an integrated service experience for consumers. And they should be focused on wellness, recovery, and resiliency. Next slide, please, Amanda. Okay, so MHSA requires that each county create a 3-year program and expenditure plan, as well as annual updates. This provides the public with a projection regarding spending and programs within each of the 5 components. One of the things that makes MHSA unique is that the planning is really done with active participation from local stakeholders through what we call the community program planning process. And this includes regular public meetings and events like the one that we're having today. So this year, 2020, has been a little bit different. We had our 2020 through 2023 3-year plan prepared in early March of this year. And typically that's about the time that we get it wrapped up, and it's approved generally by the Board of Supervisors in May or June, and then ready to go on July 1st at the beginning of the fiscal year. But this year, due to COVID-19, we had to request an extension, as did many other counties around the state, in order to allow time to make adjustments related to the fiscal impact of the pandemic. We're working hard and hoping to get our 2023 plan completed by next month. Next slide, please. So these are the 5 components of MHSA. It's required by regulation that the majority of MHSA funds go toward the first category, which is community supports and services. So this category provides services to children and adults living with a serious mental health issue. The majority of this component goes towards our full service partnership programs for both youth and adults. The next category is prevention and early intervention. And regs require that at least 51%, so over half of PEI funds, are directed towards children and youth services. but really these programs serve people of all ages, including older adults. PEI programs are designed to promote wellness and engage people at the earliest signs of a mental health struggle. So innovation is our next component here. It's a smaller component that provides time-limited funding opportunities to support new and different ways of delivering services that increase access and reach underserved groups. Next one is workforce education and training, which is aimed at developing really a diverse workforce, including recruiting, retaining, and training staff. And then finally, we have capital facilities and information technology, which is designed to improve infrastructure. Great. So this slide kind of gives you an idea of how the funding breaks down. So again, just a reminder, this is based on our 1920 figures because we're still in the process of completing our current year plan. But you can see that in 1920, MHSA provided around $54 million to support over 80 different programs and plan elements throughout the county. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide really kind of gives you an idea of the many programs in our county that are supported by MHSA. You probably recognize some of these. We're proud to say they're located all across the county and serve many different diverse communities from, you'll see First 5 on there, which works with young children between the ages of 0 and 5, all the way through the lifespan to lifelong medical care, which has a program out in West County that works with seniors. So, and then everything in between. Next slide, please. Okay, so the objectives for today's forum. We're gonna kind of be breaking into small groups for some talking circles. And we're gonna do something a little bit different this time and ask that if you're a provider, we're thrilled to have you here. But if you would please, during the talking circles, just take a step back and encourage or allow those who identify as peers, consumers, or clients to really kind of speak first. Please try taking healthy risks during this conversation time. It should really be a safe space for everyone. And just be mindful of allowing others adequate talking time. Make sure everybody gets a chance. So we certainly invite you to participate in the public comment portion of the program, which will come towards the end. And if you wouldn't mind completing an evaluation survey toward the end of the forum, that would also help us tremendously. And lastly, just consider ways that you can get involved in our stakeholder groups. If you're interested, we certainly welcome you to attend any of our groups. And Jenny will be talking about how you can do that a little bit later. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Yep, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, my name is John Coombs. I'm a member of the Putnam Clubhouse. I was hoping maybe I could get a copy of this. I came in a little late, unfortunately, but a copy of this PowerPoint. Would that be possible?
Yeah, John, we sent information out ahead of time,
Okay.
and we'll certainly be posting it afterwards as well. So we can work with you on that. And if folks have other questions like that, you're always welcome to use the chat function as well.
Yeah.
So feel free to use either.
Can I put my email in the chat?
Yep, you certainly can.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, thanks, John. Okay, so thank you so much, Jennifer, for what you were able to share about MHSA. Really helpful context setting for the rest of this afternoon. With that, we'd like to introduce Veronica Shanego from the Native American Health Center, who's going to be sharing a really important presentation. And Veronica, I understand that you'll be sharing your own screen. Is that correct?
Hi, yes, I'm ready.
Great.
All right, well, hi everyone. My name is Veronica Shanego. I am from the Native American Health Center at the Richmond location. I am tribally enrolled in the Muskogee Creek Nation of Oklahoma. And I am really excited to be here with you all today to share with you a little bit about what we do at the Richmond site. Put up my presentation here. So, welcome, Native American Health Center. This is the site located at Richmond. However, we also have clinics in Oakland, San Francisco, and also our 9 school-based health centers throughout the Bay Area. However, currently the Richmond site is fully functioning virtually. So all of our offerings and services are done either through Zoom calls like this or over the phone and home mailers. We are funded by the Mental Health Services Act through partnership with Contra Costa Behavioral Health Services. And we provide prevention and early intervention services through our cultural prevention groups. Some of those that we have are our drum group. It's now virtual, which really just blows my mind every time I say that. Typically, like a drum group, sometimes even historically it has been, I guess, frowned upon to like record, or people are uncomfortable with pictures, things of that sort. So for us to be virtual, it does speak huge volumes, and we're really we use these classes as culturally preventing a mental health crisis. And so I'm really proud of our groups that we have. We also have a traditional arts group, which includes some beading. You see the barrette there, the photo of the beadwork. And so we have our teacher, Lena, she comes and meets us on the screen, and she teaches us different techniques. We have supplies that we send out to our members, and then they learn those techniques. Some people say it's also can be meditative to be focusing as you're beading. And also we do have like we haven't started it yet, but we're soon going to, we did it on site, but not virtually yet for the basket weaving. So that's another traditional art. So we also have our wisdom holders, elder support group, and then other various cultural workshops throughout the year. Powwow, fancy shawl making classes, anything that we can give back to our community as a part of our culture that has really just been lost throughout the year, and we're using our peers, our support in our community, our elders, our leaders, our spiritual healers to bring that back as a way to prevent a serious mental health crisis. And then we also provide these early intervention services through our various community events. So we have holiday celebrations, ceremonies. Our annual sage wrapping is a very big event that we have. Talking circles with traditional healers, sobriety and wellness celebrations. And in the photo you see here, this is at a tabling event that we had at a local powwow, and then some of our ladies in the community coming together for a talking circle. And then you see the woman in the middle, she's holding an abalone shell with a sage in it. It's one of our traditional medicines that we use. These are some more of our community events. The picture on the left is our men's drum circle. So they're faithful. This is what it was when we were on site, but now we're all virtual. And it's great. The members, they really, especially during this time, it gives them the community that they're missing, somebody to talk to. Sometimes we'll chat, catch up with each other, make sure that everyone's doing well. And it's a safe space to talk about things where if it's not going so well and we need help for any type of services, then we use our groups as a way to see what people need, as well as one-on-one time as well. And then on the right, you see they're making Valentine's cards. So coming together, that's our elder support group, wisdom holders. That's what they like to be called. And then some more events here in our community. And then another way that we provide early intervention services is through our referrals and guidance. So like I said, through our groups and through our one-on-ones that we have, we start to find out, what is it what are the needs, and connecting them to the appropriate resources. So food, shelter, housing, and mental health services are our top referrals that we make. However, it can include all types of goal setting. So if somebody wants to get back into school, we help them with that, or getting their GED, anything that they need to make them achieve their goals, or to get them into a life of more wellness. So this is our current virtual schedule that we have. On Monday evenings. We have a learning our language class. So she goes over her native language, which is Osage. However, she also gives guidance into learning a variety of languages. So the content that she's providing can be applied to various languages across the board. And then on Monday night is our drum group with Mike. Wednesdays, our drum group again with the language class. And then on Fridays, we have our traditional arts class with Lena and our drum group again. So we will be sending out these slides too. So if anybody wants to join our groups, they're all welcome. Everybody is welcome. I do want to add too, our drum group here, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, they actually started as a men's drum group, but however now it's evolving into a drum and dance class for everybody. And so depending on who's coming into the group, we'll tailor the teachings and the practice towards what they're trying to learn. So I myself, I'm a powwow dancer. I dance jingle dress dance and fancy shawl dance. And so I encourage and motivate our members to get up and move. I have a background in wellness. I worked at the Native American Health Center before, nutrition and fitness. Now I'm going back to school for nursing, the emphasis in mental health. So I'm really, really just an encourager of all types of movements and wellness. And then now I would like to show you an educational video that we really wanted to bring this man here, our peer. His name is Superman. He is from the Crow Nation in Montana. He is a powwow dancer, fancy dancer, and also a social activist. So he definitely would. I'll just play the video. You guys can see what his message is. And then after him is one of our own Native American Health Center members who is giving a little bit about her story and the services through Native American Health Center and how it's helped her. These are just a little bit of ways to understand how our culture is positively impacting the lives of our community.
The values that I was taught about dancing were taught to me by my grandfather, who was Frank Textigan. He said, you want to come out to this circle, you can't just come out and try to win money, try to look cool. He said, that's not why we dance. The ones who are out there spectating, those are the people that you dance for. Some of them, maybe they're in wheelchairs. He said, you dance for them. Some of them have heavy hearts. They lost a loved one, so you dance for them. When you dance, the people can see your heart. If it's in a good place, their spirit is uplifted. Healing takes place. Let your steps be a prayer. It's a celebration. The relationship that America has with its indigenous people, it's not a good one. People will look at Native people and say, high suicide rate there, alcoholism. Why can't they just get together like everybody else? But they don't understand what was done to the Native people had a devastating effect. War, genocide, hate, being told that you're evil, that you're less human, devastating impact, on who we are, our culture, our identity. It's kind of like a bomb. Each generation is feeling that shockwave still. The whole culture of hip hop, I was really drawn towards it, because I thought it was just really cool. Also, what the rappers were talking about, the inner cities and the struggle of being oppressed. What they were talking about was like, hey, what we were going through too. Kind of gave us a voice. As time went on, we heard natives rapping. These guys are telling their story. Shoot, I'll tell my story too, So we would freestyle and we would write lyrics down. We started expressing ourselves, talking about the res. Oh, hey, this guy's from the res, like me, I really loved the sound of scratching. I saved up money, firefighting to buy myself a turntable. And I would just spend hours, just perfecting my craft. We just had to learn everything ourselves. Hearing somebody else saying, hey, that sounds good, man, that's cool. That passion always just built up. I finally got introduced to an artist who was doing what I wanted to do. He was a native out there, rapping and traveling. I sent him my demo, and he's like, yo, I like it. Let's work together. Let's go out on tour. Okay, I'm gonna make this sacrifice. I'm gonna leave my family and go out here. So that's what I did. Early on, my mind was in a different place. I started to kind of get a little taste of fame, so to speak. I enjoyed that. It made me feel good. I made some mistakes in that realm. Thinking about what I did, thinking about my family, my wife, and, my future, just everything. I was just like, nah, that's not who I want to be. I don't really want to be this person. I don't want to be this guy. Right after that, I started taking steps towards being that person of positivity and love and expressing that through my music. Speaking out for Native rights, human rights, I was never that person. I was just go with the flow type. I started to travel. I started to see different cultures, different Native cultures, the way these people view natives. You're open to what's going on, even about my own culture and who I am. There's a lot of crazy things going on. I felt I had to say something because people were listening to me. The cultural aspect, the dancing and what I do, I never want to do it for a gimmick. When I wear my regalia, it's not just fashion. It has a deep meaning. The beadwork that my wife and my daughter did for me, they put their heart and their soul into every stitch. When they're sitting there, they're praying for me, Creator, watch over him, let him say good words. Wherever I go and I wear my outfit, I take my family with me. My wife is with me, my kids are with me, my ancestors, they're with me. I can't be drinking alcohol, doing drugs and wearing this thing, talking about crazy stuff because it's sacred, it's sacred to me. The platform that I have as an artist, it's a good place to be to educate people. Wearing my outfit, it grabs the listener. I'm able to share with them and educate them. People ask me, hey, what messages do you want to relate with your music? It's the basic message of love. I don't really have an agenda when I go do my presentations. Faith, hope, love. I just want to spread those messages. And however they receive those is the way it's going to go. You can never deny somebody's kindness, somebody's love, no matter what culture they come from, no matter what their view is. If you're giving love, you're helping people, you're gonna get that back. Our young people, they're dying. You know, they're on drugs, they're on alcohol, they're struggling, you know, with their identity. I'll get it in the inboxes and the emails afterwards. And they'll say, hey, I was one of those kids way in the back. And I just wanted to reach out to you and say, I think that's dope what you do, you know. I was gonna commit suicide. And the more you talked and the more you shared, I felt like I wanted to face life, you know. I felt like living. I heard your story. It was just like mine, man. I'm going through the same thing, but I think I'm gonna live, man. You know, I'm gonna face life. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. You saved my life, you know, bam. So you hear a story like that and you realize the power and the gift that you have is making a difference, you know. It's helping people. One of the most memorable performances was down in Mescalero, Apache. The whole community came out, you know, there was like 1,000 people there. There was one moment where I got done and it was like a standing ovation. You're all just clapping, cheering. I stood there, you know, just like nodding to the people. I could see their faces. I was connected with that crowd at that moment. And the way they looked at me, they were like happy. I just felt like crying. It's like, man, this is powerful. What I'm doing has meaning and it has a place, and it's a powerful thing. And it allows me to have that fire, you know, that motivation to keep going, to keep making music, keep presenting, and keep doing what I'm doing.
So we went to all the powwows when we were young. At that time, children could not dance. Only people over 50 years of age could dance. Most people do not know this, that the government forbid children to dance Indian. And that was so they could wipe out the culture of the young people. And then finally, the new generation would never know what happened, never know what happened.
My relation. Let go of your fears. For now is the time to take courage. My relation, look. For this is a beautiful life. Beauty is everywhere. You are here today, my relation. Nothing is more beautiful than that.
My great-grandmother was born in a part of Guerrero called Sicapa, and my mother was born in Copalillo, Guerrero. So my mom migrated from Mexico City. She crossed the border illegally. Supposedly illegally, she migrated. I had an uncle who would tell us stories in Nahuatl and teach us how to count. And so those connections were always in my family, like knowing where I come from, knowing the language that we spoke before we knew Spanish. So I was like 16 and a half, 17 when I started dancing. And once you light up the fire, you can't let it get put out. Like, if you have like this responsibility to keep the fire on, and you have like all the elements on your altar, you set up the fire and you burn your copal, you can burn your cedar, you can burn your sage, you can burn your tabaco. They're all medicine. The feathers that we carry on our copilis, the ones that I put on mine are pheasant feathers and peacock and macaw. The pheasant feathers sometimes are dyed to match your traje. Mine is blue, that's why I have some blue feathers. It's really important for me to keep my traditions alive, not only for myself, but for the next generations. It's really important because it's a way of life, protecting and the sacred, which is water, the land, you know, the fire that we use in ceremony. It's all sacred. It's really important to keep that alive, even if it's just I'm gonna light up my sage in my room, you know, to study, and say a little prayer and then get back to my studying, whatever it is that you choose to do. Just remember to pass it on to the next generation.
Friday night lights out. We make rhythms and rhymes right. Keep it tight, natural to me like sweet birds when they wanna fight. We got rights to win. Never listen sight. Salute stripes, yeah, only when we make stripes. We ain't becoming scapegoats. Jeremiah right, nowhere else to go. Kids saying no more flights.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to watch those videos and listen to what Native American Health Center has to offer our community. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me or Catherine, my supervisor. So on here today. And if anyone has any questions, let us know if we have time for questions right now. Or save those to the end.
Yeah, I think I would encourage folks to put questions in the chat, and maybe we can address some of those as we transition into our stretch break. I also just first off want to thank you so much, Veronica, for what you shared, and was seeing a lot of really meaningful feedback in the chat about how much the video in particular was touching people. So thank you for that. I also want to highlight that Jenny just put a community input question into the chat box. So if folks have any thoughts on sharing what are some mental health, wellness, or mindfulness practices in your community that help you, we'd love for folks to share any thoughts you have on that question. This will be an opportunity for us to just share with each other and reflect on what we just heard from Veronica. And with that, we're going to transition into a brief stretch break. So just want to encourage folks to take a couple of minutes to, if they need to get up and look away from the screen, or take a bathroom break, or grab a drink or a snack, or anything like that, please go ahead. Or if you'd like, Veronica's also going to lead us through some stretch exercises for anybody that wants to move a little bit. And we'll come back together in just a few minutes.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so again, I'm a certified yoga instructor, so I'm going to guide you through some stretches. However, it's very important to listen to your body. So everything that I'm going to suggest to you is just a suggestion. You don't have to do it. You know, do what you feel comfortable with. Some of the ones that I like to do when I'm sitting is just really first ground yourself. So what that means is just giving yourself time to connect with your breath, to really arrive in the space that you're in. So if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes and dim the lights and really start to notice your breath. Sometimes it helps if you envision it as a color. So as you're inhaling, pick your favorite color and imagine that color lifting through your body. And then as you exhale, envisioning your favorite color slowly leaving with your breath. And do that on your own, connecting with your breath. Start to relax the space between your eyebrows, your jaw, your shoulders. And lift your arms up on your next inhale. And then exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Your driving life force within. Let everything come from your heart, a space of love, compassion. Inhale, your arms rise. And this time, as you exhale, slowly hinge your hips and lower down, folding over, tucking your chin towards your chest. Taking a big inhale. And as you exhale, slowly return to a tall seat. And then let's flow through a couple what are called cat-cows in the chair. So you're going to round, I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see what I mean. You're gonna round your back, tuck your tailbone under, tuck your chin down to your chest. And then as you inhale, lift your chest up, tilt your tailbone back. If you want to further deepen the stretch, you can open your arms, lifting your head, opening your throat. Exhale, round down. Inhale, open up. Go ahead and flow through that on your own. Spend as much time as you need to in either the cat or the cow. Really listen to your body. Coming back to the center. Inhale your right arm high. Exhale, bend to the side. Your gaze can be up at your hand or down below at your feet. Whatever feels more comfortable. There's not a right or a wrong way to do this. It's all the way your body feels. Other hand. Inhale, rise. Exhale, stretch it over. Start to elongate the side body. Full breath in and a cleansing breath out. Coming back to the center. Inhale one more time. We're going to reach for our toes. Exhale, nice and slow. Let your chin tuck to your chest. Full inhale. And on your exhale, slowly come back to the center. Your arms will rise, floating over you. And as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart. You're exactly where you need to be in this exact moment, and nothing else matters. Thank you for joining me with the little stretch and movement. There's more where that came from. You can also do these standing up if you want to stand up, so you could go through that same sequence on your feet. Do we have time to do that, or that was about 5 minutes?
I think that is probably all we have time for right now, but we will be doing one more stretch break before the afternoon is over. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, and don't forget to drink water. We all needed that with so much time spent in front of the screen. So thank you, and thank you for your presentation. So with that, we're going to shift gears, and I'm so excited to introduce our next set of speakers. We have Jay Mahler and Anna Lubarov, who are going to be presenting on the history of the mental health consumer and peer movement in Contra Costa County, as well as looking ahead. So excited for them to be joining us. And both of them should go ahead and come off mute to introduce themselves, and then I'll go ahead and share the presentation.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you great, Jay.
Okay. So the point I want to share with you about my history is I spent 56 years in the public mental health system, mainly in Contra Costa and Alameda counties, 10 years trying to survive it, and 46 years trying to change it. The title of my presentation that was just mentioned is The History of the Consumer Movement in Contra Costa County and Looking Ahead. The quote I'd like to share with you that kind of brings the importance of this history lesson to bear is that those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Before we get into the history of Contra Costa County, the consumer movement, I wanted to share with you some important material that is background to kind of put the history in proper perspective. The place to start is with the study called The Dilemma of Mental Health Commitments, done by the Assembly Office of Research in 1967, which showed some horrific facts around how people were treated in the public mental health system. There were approximately 19,000 consumers in the state hospital at that time. The commitment hearing for consumers lasted less than 3 minutes and only took 2 psychiatrists to say they agreed that they had a mental illness, and then they were placed in the hospital for months, years, and decades if they were to survive. 80% of the elderly died within the first year of being put in a state hospital. The treatment they received was really horrific. It included shock treatments against your will, horrific amounts of medication that had horrendous side effects, forced work programs, people in restraints for days at a time, and people, when they were in state hospital, they had no rights at that time to have visitors, to make telephone calls, to even wear their own clothes. That study resulted in the passage of the LPS Act in 1969, which had 3 important changes in the way mental health was delivered. One, it limited the length of stay that people could be put in hospitals, so it wasn't in terms of months, years, and decades, it was now days and weeks, and also set up criteria for keeping people against their will. The second thing the LPS Act did was it gave people certain rights while you were in the hospital, like the rights to wear your own clothes, to make telephone calls, to have visitors. The third change of the LPS Act was it changed the funding formula in which counties would now only have to pay 10% of their cost of providing alternatives to the hospital in the local community programs. From that LPS Act, as people were starting to get released from the state hospital, you started the time of the modern consumer movement, which started in 1970 when two consumer groups were formed in Oregon and Kansas. The names of the consumer groups kind of reflected their purpose. For example, you had Network Against Psychiatric Assault in Berkeley, San Francisco. You had Project Release in New York. You had Mental Patients Liberation Front in Boston. Around that time, in the 70s, there were approximately 40 consumer run groups in the country, although at that time we called ourselves survivors or psychiatric inmates. But there were 40 groups, and they were connected by a magazine called Madness Network News. You may have heard the saying, all the news that's fit to print. In Madness Network News, our motto was all the fits that are news to print, in which we were able to tell our stories of what it was like to be in a state hospital. We were also united by an annual conference called the Annual Conference on Human Rights and Psychiatric Oppression. During the 70s through the mid 80s, the two major efforts of the consumer movement nationally was to work on patient rights and to work on systems change. In the area of patient rights, we had a number of efforts to work with state legislatures on getting some very progressive patient rights laws passed. For example, we were able to get Assemblyman Vasconcellos to have a legislation that was passed to limit shock treatments, which was a horrible experience to have shock treatments. I had it, so I know about that. Also, we were able in 1978 to get Jameson versus Farabee passed, which gave voluntary patients a right to refuse medications. It's amazing that if you sign yourself in to get help in a hospital, you had no right to refuse the medication once you got there. Again, it was very horrific medications. Another legislation was passed by Tom Bates, who took the patient regulations that were passed and took patient rates right and codified the bill so that patients now could have certain duties. The patient rights had certain duties, and there was a funding mechanism that was passed. In 1982, Tom Bates passed a law that allowed for certification hearings, which meant that people that were on 14-day holds could now have a hearing to make sure they weren't held illegally. In 1986, another patient rights was Reese versus St. Mary's, which gave patients the right to refuse medications. So wanted to mention that in 1976, Mental Health Consumer Concerns formed to try and be the patient rights advocate for Alameda County. And there was no way in Alameda County that the county was going to hire consumers to be patient rights advocates. So after 4 years, we were not successful. In fact, the first patient rights advocate for Alameda County was Dr. York, who was in charge of the inpatient unit and the emergency room to be the advocate. So a few boos and hisses would be appreciated right now. It was a real struggle during that time. But in 1980, we actually got the contract to be the patient rights advocate for Contra Costa County. It's the first time in the state that a county mental health program awarded a contract to a consumer-run organization to provide services. The next major effort of the consumer movement nationally from the 70s to 85 was to get involved in systems change, to have input into policy. And so in 1979, Network Against Psychiatric Assault and the Coalition Against Forced Treatment organized a demonstration at the annual Mental Health Directors Conference to demand that the governor appoint consumers to be on the State Citizen Advisory Council, which was the main advisory body to the governor and the legislature on mental health issues. Governor Brown appointed myself and Judy Greenwald to be on the State Citizen Advisory Council. And in 1981, we designated the Citizen Advisory Council designated 1981 as the year of the consumer, which meant that all the quarterly meetings of the Citizen Advisory Council were devoted to hear the consumer viewpoint on policy, on consumer rent programs, and on patient rights. Out of that year of the consumer came two real important changes or recommendations. One was to set up a state network of mental health clients, to set up a consumer rent organization at the state level, and now that formed the California Network of Mental Health Clients in 1983. Also, the report recommended that there be consumer speaks conferences in each county to try and get consumer rent programs. Over the next 5 years, there were 25 consumer programs in California. Contra Costa County Mental Health Consumer Concerns held the second Consumer Speaks conference, and out of that conference came TALI, which stood for Take a Living Look at Yourself, and had quite a good support group. TALI also organized with the rest of the mental health community in 1984 a major conference on stigma, first conference in the state that focused on trying to take a look at stigma and educating the public about that, as well as taking on the media on its role in perpetuating stigma. The second, so after that, there was really important to have a collaboration between the California Network of Mental Health Clients and Mental Health Consumer Concerns at the local level. And so an example of that was in one of the first legislation that the California Network passed was to require that there be consumers on local mental health boards. And in Contra Costa County, when the Mental Health Commission, who didn't have any consumers on the board, made recommendations to the Board of Supervisors to have some appointments, they didn't have any consumers being recommended. So MHCC was able to challenge that and get the Board of Supervisors to appoint two consumers to be on the board. In the mid 80s, the next important project or goal that the National Consumer Movement had was to get consumer rent programs started in the state and in the country. And so the first consumer rent program, Berkeley Drop-In Center, was started in 1985 by Sally Zinman. In 1988, Mental Health Consumer Concerns had its second Consumer Speaks conference, and out of that conference, the Contra Costa Network of Mental Health Clients formed, and one of the areas they pushed hard was to get a consumer rent program going. And in 1990, the first drop-in center in Contra Costa County happened in Martinez, run by Mental Health Consumer Concerns. In the late 80s through the early 90s, the big issue on the consumer movement nationally was to get consumers hired as mental health providers. And so in 1989, Contra Costa County Mental Health Consumer Concerns and Sacramento County was able to get a grant from the National Institute for Mental Health for $1.5 million to train consumers to be mental health providers. And so at the 11th hour, the professionals in Contra Costa County mainly in East County, didn't want to work with consumers as equals, and so they lobbied the Board of Supervisors to have that grant turned back, which would be the first time in the history that a CSP grant, NIH grant, has ever been turned back. But anyway, so we developed a campaign called Sing Our Song, Save Our National Grant. And we worked extremely hard for months, but unfortunately the Board of Supervisors went along with the professionals, and so we weren't able to have the grant. So we kept persevering, we've got to keep persevering. And so in 91, we applied for another grant, finished second this time. And finally in 1992, the Contra Costa Behavioral Health Care gave Mental Health Consumer Concerns $30,000 to start a training program to train consumers to be mental health providers. The first training program occurred in 1993. It was called Office, and later was called Spirit. And it's been going for over 26 years. I'm sure there are a number of people in the audience that probably has gone through the Excellent Spirit training. But anyway, 1994, the county hired its first 4 consumers out of that first class. Then the next critical area that was worked on was in 1997. Donna Wiegand was appointed to be the mental health director of Contra Costa County. She was very supportive of the consumer movement and did incredible things to promote consumer programs. Actually, we call that kind of the golden era of the consumer movement in Contra Costa County from 1997 to 2004, because all that we were able to accomplish during that time. Donna Wiegand hired myself to be part of her management team, and from that we set up the Office for Consumer Empowerment to make sure that our voice was heard in administrative levels, and hired some excellent people. Anna Labaroff, who you'll hear from shortly, and also Sharon Keene and Aaron Kleen. She also closed East Bay Hospital. MHCC worked very hard to close this East Bay Hospital, which was a hospital in Richmond that was overcrowded, over-medicated people, profit-making, put people in restraints. So we were able to close that. We also, during that period of time, we were able to increase the number of consumer-run programs from 1 to 3, with having another consumer drop-in center open in Richmond and one in Pittsburgh. We also had our second major stigma campaign, and during that campaign, we took on the city of Pleasant Hill and the residents who were really fighting hard not to let Crestwood mental health program open up a program in their town. And so we were finally successful to stop the NIMBYism, not in my backyard, and got that program open. But perhaps the most exciting thing that happened during that era was Contra Costa County was the first county to bring the recovery vision into California. And during those several years, we had 2 recovery conferences that we invited the Bay Area counties to. One, we had over 400 people and had Mary Ellen Copeland, who started the Wellness Recovery Action Plan, and Dan Fisher, who was on the President's Commission, to be our keynote speaker. The second conference, we had over 700 people attended from the Bay Area counties, and we had three major parts to the program. One was on looking at cultural diversity in recovery. Second was looking at the role of spirituality and faith communities in helping people to recover. And the third was looking at model programs, in which we had Mark Regans from the Village in LA be our keynote speaker. So during those years, we were promoting recovery. We got a recovery library going. We got a wellness recovery center open. We got rap groups going on throughout the county. We were able to expand support groups at community colleges to have support groups for people that were consumers that wanted to go back to college and get support. We started a warm line. We had a tender loving care project, which was made up of individuals to help other individuals that have mental health issues with basic needs, to have consumers helping other consumers get basic needs met. And so that was quite an opportunity, that golden era. In 2003, the Consumer Movement in Contra Costa County and throughout California worked hard to get the Mental Health Service Act passed. And that Mental Health Service Act was an act that billed millionaires after their $2 million annual income, 1% of that had to go to mental health programs. That brought in over $650 million the first year, and I think it's up to around $2 billion now statewide. We called that initiative the Robin Hood Initiative, for taking away from the millionaires and giving to the people that needed it. The MHSA, the first couple of years, really focused on community services with the idea of getting full service partnerships operated in the county. And we were able to get peers to be hired as part of those full service partnerships. So I actually left in 2006. So I'm going to turn it over to Anna now, who's going to share some of the highlights that happened after 2006.
Thank you so much, Jay. This is quite a trip down the memory lane. So here it was 2005, 2006, and I call it, as Dickens said, the best of times and the worst of times. The best because we got the MHSA and we were at the table and the hopes were high. And the worst of times was because it turned out that most of the funds went to the county mental health programs and not the community. Also, we were still not getting our suggestions in. So I also saw how folks started to fight with each other, different programs and services who try to help pass MHSA now were fighting each other for MHSA funding. It was quite sad to see. And our CPA meetings, if any of those were still there, still here after that, were shouting matches, and we were not very productive. I want to acknowledge here the amazing job that currently retired Warren Hayes and his MHSA team did in organizing all of us, because as you are aware, our CPA meetings now are actually place where things get done. So throughout all of those difficulties, there was a silver lining in 2007, and it came in the form of our collaboration with the Vocational Services Program. The collaboration was of OC, MHCC, and Contra Costa Community College. John Hollander introduced us and to Professor Amanda Mickles. Some of you know her very well. And after many months of meetings, we were on campus and we were granted an honor of becoming a pilot community college course. That was a lot of pressure. It was very exciting, but it was also very difficult because we had to prove that we can do it. And so we still weren't funded very well. And so if some of you saw me running around campus and the administration service as the chicken with the head cut off, well, that's what it was. I wasn't falling apart. I was just completely overloaded. It was also extremely exciting because in January 2007, I got to teach our very first spirit class as a college course. And we survived, and in 2008, we became a fully accredited community college course. And so the other thing I wanted to mention is last summer, I was invited to the graduate spirit training graduation. And I can tell you how excited and how amazed I was that the program not only survived but thrived, and to see Spirit and OC continue and do amazing job and continue to inspire everyone is beyond anything I could ever imagine or any one of us could imagine. In conclusion, I would like to say that as peers, we're always interested in working collaboratively with every person, program, and service who are interested in helping to improve lives and quality of life of mental health clients and peers and our families. And though we don't always agree, but diversity of perspectives and ideas is essential. I'd like to end my little spiel by inviting you to participate in another historic effort and help support SB 803, a peer specialist certification bill. It establishes a peer support specialist certification program for behavioral health services and adds peer support services as a medical covered benefit for counties that choose to provide this important service. We already do. So the only thing we need is a governor's signature. So please, please, please help us urge the governor to sign the bill. And after our presentation, I will put in a chat the information on how you can do it. So on that note, I would like to thank you for listening and pass it back to Jay, who will share suggestions and the next steps and how you can get involved. Thank you guys so much.
So I've been asked to share some important issues that we can work on in the future. The first one I would like to mention is it would be very important to have a peer-run organization in Contra Costa County that really worked hard on system change, that participated in all the meetings that MHSA have and making sure the consumer voice is heard, because there's a number of issues that they could be pushing. For example, emphasizing more trauma-informed care instead of looking at what's wrong with the person in terms of mental illness, to kind of focus on what happened to the person. Could also be working on trying to address the issue that people with mental health issues are dying 25 years earlier than the general public, and 70% of the reasons why people are dying can be prevented. And so we need to have a consumer-run organizations that's pushing the county to have services that address that issue. We could also use a consumer-run organization to push the issue of having the county be more supportive of the role of spirituality and faith communities in helping people to recover. The second issue I recommend that we should try and work on in Contra Costa County was to have a recovery vision revival. It's been 20 years since Contra Costa County was the first county to implement the recovery vision, and there are a number of workers now that have been hired that are not familiar with the recovery vision. Family members, consumers are not aware of the recovery vision. We need extensive training on looking at the values of recovery, the 10 components that are important to recovery, and the services and supports that are essential for recovery. The third area I would suggest that we really work on is looking at the issue of police being the first responders in a mental health crisis. With the outstanding work of Black Lives Matter, the horrendous deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and the massive protests, we now have an opportunity to really look at changing the police reform. So we'd like to see in Contra Costa County, instead of police having a behavioral health crisis team made up of a model that I would like, a social worker, family member, and provider, to really operate and handle crises 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A big shout out to the Justice for Miles Hall Foundation, which Miles Hall was an African-American male that was murdered by police in Walnut Creek last year, and his family has been working extremely hard for over a year now to move police from being the first responders. Really recommend you look at their website. They recently got, the family recently got a $4 million settlement for the wrongful death of Miles Hall by the Walnut Creek Police. The fourth area that Anna already mentioned is to work hard on getting SB 803 signed by the governor. So I hope people email, phone, text, whatever you do to try and get the governor to sign it. But once it's signed, we still need it to be implemented in Contra Costa County. And so we need to work with the mental health director to implement that and put proper resources in to hire more consumers and families. It's also quite an opportunity for Spirit because there's going to need to be training in all the other counties around this Spirit certification. I think Spirit could be in a good position to really help train other counties. So I hope they'll consider that. The fifth area I would like to mention is I would like to see us have an incredible celebration. It's been 50 years since the LPS Act passed, and there's been amazing changes that Contra Costa Behavioral Healthcare has done over the past 50 years. So I'd like to see a big celebration that would look at the history and achievements of behavioral healthcare services, achievements and history of behavioral, of a family group, of community-based organizations, and the consumer movement. And of course, end that celebration with a segment that would look at what we need to do next to improve services in Contra Costa County. In closing, I'd like to say I hope people will contact Anna and myself if you're interested in being involved in any of these issues, or if you have any questions about the history, I hope you will contact us. As I said earlier, nothing important comes easy. It takes a lot of struggle, perseverance, and then success. I'd like to close with a quote by Margaret Mead that really brings this point home. It's never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only way it has ever been done. So I thank you for listening. I hope you are having a wonderful conference.
Thank you so much to Jay and Anna for the incredible presentation. We're seeing a lot of conversation going on in the chat about so many of the experiences that folks who are with us this afternoon have participated and been a part of over the years. So really meaningful to kind of walk through that together and reflect on how far we've come and what may come in the coming years. So thank you so much to both of you. Want to highlight that Anna did put this contact information in the chat as well, so that can be an easier way to copy it over if you'd like to reach out to either of our panelists. Thank you both so much. As we transition into the next part of our conversation, before we get into some breakout groups, just wanted to do one more quick poll. And so this poll that should be coming up on your screen is asking, are you likely to get more involved in any of the steps outlined in this presentation after hearing from the speakers? So if you could please just respond to that poll, really appreciate it. We'll leave that up on the screen for a couple minutes here. Yes, continuing to see some conversation in the chat about how informative and inspiring the conversation was. So really appreciative of that. I'm going to give folks just 10 more seconds here on this poll. So please go ahead, make sure that you're participating if you'd like to in the poll today. Okay, going to go ahead and close that out. And just as a testament to how inspiring this conversation was, 70% of our attendees said that they are likely to get more involved after hearing from our speakers this afternoon. So again, just such gratitude for what you were able to share with us. So with that, we're going to be moving into some talking circles. And the way this is going to work is you will get a pop-up invitation in Zoom to join a breakout room, and you'll be paired with a smaller group of people, including a pre-assigned scribe who will be taking notes for the group. Thank you so much to all of our volunteers who are with us this afternoon to make sure that we capture all of the great conversation that happens in our talking circles. And so we encourage everybody, when you join the smaller breakout group, to come on video if you have video turned off, and be sure to take yourself off mute. And you'll be discussing a few other topics that are up on the screen right now, which are also going to be shared in the chat, so that you have them for reference. You know, these discussion points are serving to help give the conversation some flow, but you can certainly bring up other things that relate to the forum for this afternoon. And we really encourage that service providers and family members take a step back and let people that identify as peers or consumers or clients, or people who've accessed services or wellness supports, be the first to speak. And we really encourage folks to take a healthy risk in the talking circles and be mindful of your engagement, and just try to share the time and not dominate so that everybody has an opportunity to speak. So we will go ahead, and you should be receiving shortly an invitation to join a breakout group, and we'll be in those groups for 20 or 25 minutes, and then we'll come back together to close out our agenda with a few more items. So thank you so much for your participation, and we'll see you back together in 20 or 25 minutes. So again, those pop-ups should be coming. Just go ahead and accept the invitation that you're receiving, and you'll be joined to that smaller group. And if anybody's having any issues with joining a breakout group, feel free to put it in the chat or just mention it here, and myself or Erica can help get you connected to one of the breakout groups if you'd like to be. All right, it looks like we have folks starting to come back. We'll just give everybody a minute to make it back over into our main forum space. Hope everybody had a wonderful time participating in our talking circles, having some good conversation. Really appreciate all the thoughtfulness that everyone's been bringing throughout the forum this afternoon. Giving folks just another minute to rejoin. We're going to be transitioning into one more stretch break before we wrap up our forum this afternoon. I'll be inviting Veronica to lead us through one more brief stretch break, and then we're going to hear a little bit more about how to stay involved and continue to take the ideas that came out of this afternoon's conversation forward. But before, and we'll also be doing some public comment before we wrap up this afternoon. But before we get into the final parts of our agenda this afternoon, I'd like to turn it over to Veronica, who's going to give us one more walkthrough of a stretch exercise. So this is a great time to either get up and take care of any needs you might have, or to join us for a couple of minutes of stretching. Great.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so this time I'm going to encourage you to just really get up. Like, just get up, stand up if you can. We're blessed with our legs if we've got them. Let's get them up. If not, just, you can sit and follow as well. Oh, wait, let me make sure you can really see me. So we're going to do something similar like before, but this time. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, good.
Yep.
So just wherever you are, take some time to ground yourself. Envision roots growing from beneath your feet into the ground, connecting you to this moment. Taking a big cleansing breath. Relaxing your shoulders down away from your ears. Your chest held high and proud. Growing from your kneecap and feeling all sides of your foot connected to the ground. And when you feel stable, go ahead and inhale, reach your arms up. And then exhale, bring them in front of your heart. You're exactly where you need to be, and nothing else matters. Inhale, your arms rise. And exhale, slowly, very slowly reach for your toes. Let your arms hang down. And let anything that doesn't really belong in your mind right now, just let it dump, metaphorically, just dump out of your head. Let it go. You don't need that. Just let it float away like clouds in the sky. And then start to slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, coming to a tall stance. Reaching your arms up. A slight back bend, coming back to your hands at your heart center. Now this time we're gonna stagger our feet. You're gonna put one foot in front of the other. Both toes you're gonna point forward. So since we sit all day, these muscles right here in your hip flexor, it gets tight. So we're gonna open them up right now. So, big stance. Push your hips forward. Start to bend your front leg. If you have something near you, you can hold on to if you need balance, support for your balance. On a chair, you could do this on a chair too. It helps if your chair doesn't have arm things on it, but you put your leg like this and your leg back. Okay? Or on a couch. I don't know how you would do it on a couch. Don't do it on a couch. And try to just find your balance there. Just take it one step further. The same leg that you have in the back with your arm, the same arm as your back leg, reach it up and over. Really open up your hip flexor. Okay, and then now let's go to the other side. So other foot forward this time, other foot back. Bend in your front leg nice and slow. Make sure that your knee isn't going over your toe. Okay, and you want to keep your knee in line with your toes. Don't let it cave in or out. Keep breathing, feeling your body. Take the same arm as your back leg, reach it up and over. And then coming back to the center, bring your legs together. Just a little march in place. March in place. Hey, hey, hey. Move. Our bodies are designed to move. So get out of your head, get into your body, move it around. You got it. Movement is a great way. Just get out of your head, get into your body, and just shake it all out.
That was excellent.
Let everything that you don't need, just let it go. You don't need that. Let it go. Whew. One more big breath in, reach up high. Exhale to your heart. Coming from a place of love, do everything from a place of love. You have the power. You are in control of your life. You're in control of your body, your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much for leading us through that. Really appreciate it, Veronica. So helpful to give us these moments. Thank you, and appreciate the feedback we're getting in the chat as well. So we just have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that we get a chance to talk a little bit about what happens next. And I'm going to be handing things off to Genevieve Zanzati, who's going to tell us more. And she's the Workforce Education and Training / Ethnic Services Coordinator.
Hi, everyone. So I wanted to just share with you all a few resources. If you like today's forum, we hold regular forums. This is actually our first virtual forum we've ever held, so thank you all for participating and being patient with us. But we usually hold about 3 of these or so per year, and it's a way that we gather input from the community. And there's a lot of different various topics that we covered. Some of the previous topics were early childhood and mental health, housing and services, family supports for mental health. And so a lot of these are in relation to mental health. So a way to stay involved is you can actually visit, see on the website here, you can actually visit or actually send an email, send an email to mhsa@cchealth.org, or you can call the phone number that's listed here, which is the MHSA office, and you can ask to be sent or ask to be added onto our email list for all of our notifications of future MHSA forums or any of our stakeholder meetings, our community meetings. They are all open to the public, and people are welcome to participate and stay involved. We also have something that we call CPA, the Consolidated Planning Advisory Work Group, and it is just another way that people can commit their time and stay involved and actually have a membership. So you can visit the website here, which will take you and describe a bit more on CPA, and you can actually, if you're really interested, you can also get a copy of our application if you're wanting to become a member. And you are also able to access all of our meeting information. So all of our meetings currently, due to COVID, are taking place via Zoom, but we do have regular meetings. Some of them touch on our children's mental health system, some of aging older adult, our adult system. We also have a Reducing Health Disparities Committee and Suicide Prevention Committee and various other committees that we work with members from the community as well as people that work within our system to brainstorm on how to improve services. And then the last here is the MHSA website. So I encourage all of you to visit this website maybe today or another day, but and become familiar. This is what any information in relation to the Mental Health Services Act in Contra Costa County is pretty much updated there. The 3-year plan that was discussed earlier by Jennifer Bergerman is also posted on there, and we really just try to provide the community information. All of you should have also been sent a virtual mental health services and supports. So a lot of the programming that is currently offered by the MHSA or in partnership with MHSA is being done in a virtual setting. It includes the links to the various programs and how to get connected. You can go to the next slide, please, Amanda. I think one more. Oh, okay. So before we jump into the public comment section, which will follow here, I would really like for all of you to participate in today's survey, and you can do so by accessing the link in the chat box. I will also send out a follow-up email that will have this link, and it will help us gather input on who is here today, and also what maybe ways that we can improve today's forum. There will be no personal identifying information collected, but we would really appreciate all of you to access this. You can copy the link and then paste it into another web browser and take the survey. It should only take about a minute at the most to complete. And that's it. I'm going to turn it over to Amanda here for the public comment piece.
Great. Thanks so much, Jenny. Yeah, so again, that link is in the chat so that you can participate in the forum evaluation survey. And we noted some of the feedback that you had shared directly in the chat as well. So thank you for those. So at this time, we're going to open things up to public comment. And so you're able to comment on any of the agenda items or items related to the topic at hand. We're going to ask folks to observe a 2-minute time limit if you choose to participate orally this afternoon. So you're able to raise your hand using the Zoom feature to signal that you want to participate in public comment, and I will call on folks. So I ask that you not unmute yourself until you've been called on. You can also share public comment in the chat box if you don't want to speak it out loud or if we start to run out of time. But that is what we're going to be doing at this time is public comment. So this is a chance to kind of respond to some of the agenda items we've seen, things of that nature. So do we have anyone who would like to participate in public comment at this time? Let's see. Yep, I see, John, I see your hand raised. Let's go to you. If you'd like to unmute yourself and share your public comment, please.
I'd just like to say that I've been a consumer now of this county's services for about 8 or 9 years now, and about 8 years, and it's been a really good experience for me. From being in the hospital. Anyway, it's from being in the hospital to being involved with MACC, the Putnam Clubhouse, getting involved with some of our community partners, the Clubhouse community partners, and doing like the bowling tournament, the softball tournament. And so I just want to say that I'm really appreciative and thankful for the services that we have in this community, because it's not always if you leave this county, you might not find as much as we have here. So that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, John. Appreciate that. Doug, I saw your hand raised. Would you like to comment? And don't forget to come off mute.
Okay, I'm off. Do you hear me now?
Yes, there you go.
Okay. Very briefly, I would have appreciated twice as much time in the breakout rooms, because we had to rush very quickly. We were just developing some thoughts, but no, we got to go to the next question. So would appreciate twice much more time the next time if possible, but otherwise very good. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Doug. Yeah, definitely encourage folks to respond to that survey in the chat to share that type of feedback as well. We were doing a lot of debating because usually the full forum is more like a 4-hour event. So we're trying to kind of balance that timing with just how much Zoom folks can take. So appreciate that feedback. Chris, I see your hand raised. Would you like to unmute yourself and share your public comment?
I just wanted to say thank you to all who put this on, but that really then extends outwards to thank you all who have made the peer movement happen. It truly has transformed the system. There's a lot of work to be done, but we can do that hand in hand because peers really have an equal part of the table, and really all of us have that in our blood, right? We all know people, we've all had lived experience. Some people have lived it more, and I'm glad that those voices are just as alive in this system as they are today, and that can keep getting larger and larger, and truly there's a lot of work to be done, and I appreciate those that are doing it.
Great, thanks so much, Chris. Shauna, I see your hand raised, and then Andrew, and then Kimberly.
I just also wanted to piggyback on that. Thank you, because this is a beautiful forum, and I hope there's more of them to participate in. And I feel like we are part of such a beautiful, innovative, pioneering system that is meeting people where they're at. Yeah, there's glitches and we're working on them, and we have the ability to do that, but meeting one-on-one and the invaluable amount of how refreshing it is to work with somebody with our own experience and have that availability to be vulnerable and open and have support. So thank everybody and everybody who isn't here. So I appreciate all of your guys' stories. It really touched me and I got a little teary, but that's how I am. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. Andrew, and then we'll do Kimberly, then Ricky.
Well, just while we're in the thankful mode, I really want to, I'm just so appreciative that there's a program like Spirit that has been going for as long as it has. I'm a Spirit student right now in finishing up my internship, and I've learned so much, I can't tell you. So I'm really pleased with Spirit, my participation in it, and I think more people should check it out. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Kimberly, would you like to participate? And then Ricky, and then Angie.
I think it's still in the thankful mode as well. It's even though you're all little teeny weeny squares on my laptop, it's great to see all of you. And I really appreciated Veronica's presentation too. Learning a bit about culture, experiencing people have such pride and appreciation for their culture. That's you know, you can't go to a show like that. It's flat. It's not flat, but it's the personal view of it, and so that sharing was really important.
Great, thanks so much for sharing, Kimberly. Ricky, and then Angie.
First of all, Veronica, namaste. And then I want to give a shout out to a very important person in my recovery, who's Chris Cilio, who hired me when I was going through like a lot of mental health issues, and he just kept me there. And I attribute a lot of my recovery to this man, this wonderful man right here. And it was thanks to him that I took Spirit. I did not know Spirit existed. So him and I, we supported a consumer from the Hume Center, and then here I am right now. I'm a mentor at the Children Behavioral Health Services, and I am so grateful for everyone that has been part of my recovery here in this county. Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Great, thank you. Let's do Angie, and then Sandy, did you also want to jump in after that? We'll do Angie next, though.
So I believe I was appreciative, and the presentations were super amazing, very hopeful, and I'm basically on my way to be recovering to be more of a better person with whatever services that Native American provides and other places, that other programs like RI and Putnam. But all presentations were very hopeful, inspiring, and it's very changing my life and perspective. And of course, being a Spirit graduate.
Great, thank you. Sandy, did I see your hand up earlier? Would you like to comment?
You did see my hand up. I just wanted to also piggyback and say thank you. I kind of got invited to this at the last minute. I'm so appreciative that that person forwarded me the invite. I work at John Muir Behavioral Health Center, and I'm very aware that, you know, we see people in crisis, and we play a pivotal part, I think, in helping people kind of either have a good experience in terms of asking for help or a very, very poor experience, right? And I don't want anybody to experience a poor experience. And I have learned so much today. I plan to reach out to a lot of you guys. I've been keeping track of who works where, and there's a lot I want to learn more about, you know, peer support. I had a very kind of, you know, minimal understanding, which is, you know, we here at John Muir need to know more about that. And I plan to take all of this knowledge back to share, because I don't want us to continue or perpetuate kind of an us versus them, you know, kind of providers versus patient mentality. I think that we all are in this together. And I think that there's so much power and beauty and inspiration and hope that can be gained from people interfacing with others who have been through something similar, right? So at any rate, I wanted to thank you guys for teaching me and let you know that I'm hoping that John Muir can partner more with a lot of your agencies to kind of further your work. And I invite all of you to partner with us as well. Please feel free to contact me. I'll throw my email into the chat. And if you have anything that you want to share with me about your experiences at John Muir or anything that you think can benefit, future people coming through our doors, please let me know.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I apologize, we've only got about a minute left before we wrap up this afternoon. I know we still have a few hands raised, so I'd ask that folks share their comments in the chat as we're closing out to make sure that we capture your public comment. I'm sorry we didn't have time for more this afternoon, but we really do value your perspectives. I'd also ask if you want to stay connected or receive a copy of the materials and you didn't, if you add your email to the chat, Jenny will make sure that you get that content shared with you from the forum today. So we're going to close out with a closing blessing. So I'd like to invite the Native American Health Center to close us in prayer this afternoon.
It's Catherine again. I'm sorry that I forgot today. I just want to say my name is Catherine Nieva Duran. I'm the program manager of the Native American Health Center's Richmond site. I did put my email, Veronica and myself both put our emails in the chat box. Jenny, if you or Amanda, if you want to reshare that for us. I don't know if you have access to it. Just so anybody who would like to reach out to us or join any of our programs or services will have contact information for us. But yeah, I know Veronica had to leave the call this afternoon because we have some conflicting groups that are going on right now. I see. Oh, there she goes. Friends that we've gotten here today. I just want to say thank you for all the, collaboration that's happened here during this community forum and all the perspectives that have kind of been put out there. Everything that we've learned today has been extremely valuable, and I just want to ask for his guidance for us to implement those into our programs and services moving forward. I just want to, say thank you for everyone who was able to join the call today and bring their input, and everyone who's came with an open mind and an open heart to receive all the information that has been offered here today. And I just want to again ask that, our Creator look after those who weren't able to be here with us, those who are being affected by COVID-19, those who are affected by the wildfires, and those who are being affected by the current social injustices that we're experiencing. Just keeping all of our minds that, we should be really proud of ourselves for being here today and being able, to do this and come together with everything that's going on. It's in our hearts to be able to share with each other, even though we're dealing with so much. So I just want everyone to give themselves a pat on the back for here and being present, being in the moment. That means so much to me to see this, and I know it means so much to all the other coordinators and moderators that are here today and the community. I know for community, me being also a part of the community, not only being a provider, but looking at myself as a peer, it's extremely humbling. And I appreciate it for the community and what I can, what I can do and my staff can do to contribute to that. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and just know you're all in my prayers and in my heart. And yeah.
Thank you, Catherine. That was beautiful. Just want to thank all of the forum participants that joined us this afternoon, all the volunteers that helped us with note-taking, all of our presenters that we had this afternoon, with special thanks to the Behavioral Health Services Office for Consumer Empowerment, the Native American Health Center, RA International, Jay Mahler and Ann Labarov for supporting everything that we were able to do together during today's forum. So thank you all so much. Don't forget to complete that forum evaluation survey, and we really look forward to coming together again in the future soon. So thank you all for your time with us this afternoon.
I have a question. Hello?
Yep, we're wrapping up. We're going to close the forum, but I'm happy to stay on for any question you might have.
You can say, oh, okay, good.
But thank you, everybody. We'll close out, and then Dennis, if you want to stay.
Thank you.
Dennis, what was on your mind?
Yeah, who do I email to get the materials?
Yeah, if you put your email in the chat, we can make sure that you're included on the list where we send the materials.
Perfect. Thank you. All right.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone.